Baraka, Yahweh, Alamam, Shalom, planet Earth. Third commandment, do not take the Most High name in vain. Now, as I was taught, that meant, well, what religion taught me, and most of y'all, and how I was taught that meant to, if we say that we are believers, that we should uh, walk as believers. And if we say we believers, then we wearing the Most High name, so we should act a certain way. And if we act wickedly, we'll be taking His name in vain. That's what a lot of people say. Well, yeah, that's what that means. But that's what it says. Because if we read it, it says, "Thou should not take my name in vain." Well, then, what does vain mean? When you look in the definition of vain, it means useless, worthless, to not, to just meaningless, to not really have no meaning or importance. And that's what it says, and that's what it means. So a lot of things we interpret it, and there's no proper interpretation. There's a lot of times there's no interpretation needed. The way it's written is the way it should be interpreted. Uh, but I think that's where a lot of confusion, because I had a little conversation with a dude on the internet, and shout out to Eshawn. The Eshawn had put out a video that was talking about, the third commandment, and it was saying, we shouldn't take the Most High name in vain, and that how the Most High name has been taken in vain, brought to nothing, useless, and we don't say it, and now that we know His name, when we say His name, a lot of people are attacking us for it. A lot of people got these so much excuses why it don't matter, and why it that we can call on Him, we can say, we can use any name, and it's kind of funny because they doing exactly what the commandment says not to do. When they say it don't matter. So you saying His name is not important? You saying His name is useless? You say His name is worthless? That's exactly what the commandment tell us not to do to His name. To say it's not important. To say that it's useless, that we don't have to use it. And I was having a conversation with the dude, and he brought up the fact, he was like, uh, that commandment mean that we should act according to the Bible, and that we, it don't mean that we should actually use His name. And that's what I was taught, and that's what I was told, and that's what I even told people what that meant. But when I actually just read it for what it was, I'm like, no, really it means what it says it means. Don't take His name to be useless. Don't bring His name to naught. Do not bring His name to vain. If you read it in the Hebrew, it says, not name vain, or not vain my name, or it's more clear to basically just say, don't make use of my name, in the concept of, when you understand that His name was written in the Bible over 6,000 times, and they took it out. Is that not bringing His name to naught? When you understand that for many years, most people that say they believe in Him don't know His name, only know Him by titles. The Most High is a title. God is a title. Uh, Jehovah is not His name. It's misinterpretation of his name. Uh, the whatever name you can think of, and people they use that excuse. They'll say, "Well, the Most High got many names." No, he got many titles, but he got one set apart name. And what is that name? And all through the scriptures, it tells us to praise his name, to worship his name, to call on his name. Whoever called on, it's kind of crazy because when it comes to JC, the Messiah name, and we waking up to what their name is, and we want to call them by their true name. When we was in the church, they live and die by them names, and still today they live and die by the name Jesus, and they say teach us in the religion that it's only one name we can be saved by, and that's JC, and that whoever calls on his name will be saved. So it's hypocritical when you say, but that's not his name. This is his name. So now can you use the same argument that whoever calls on his name can't be saved? And now all of a sudden it don't matter. But when it was just JC, and it was, well, there's no other name like this name under heaven. But then you realize it's a translation of a transliteration of a transliteration. And basically what that means is just a made up name. What's your excuse? Now your excuse, well, it don't matter. Or he knows what we talking about. And that was the argument that the dude was making. He was like, are you telling me that the Most High is not going to hear us unless we call on his name? And he kept saying Hebrew, instead of just saying his name. When we say JC, we don't say the English JC or the Latin JC or the translation JC. We just say JC. So he kept saying that the Hebrew name, and, we don't speak Hebrew, that's another language. And look, that's not the argument. I'm not arguing, and none of us is arguing that the Most High would not hear our prayers unless we call on his name. That's not what I said or anybody that's calling on his name. But my understanding is saying the scripture also says that uh, that our ignorance, when we didn't know, ignorance mean not knowing something. It says the Most High wink, but it says now's the time that he's calling everybody to repent. And repent, if you understand what that means, is to turn away or have a change of mind, turn away from lies and falsehoods. And also the scripture says when we serve the Most High, we must serve him in spirit and in truth. Uh, what is truth? The truth is his name is this, and the lie is the other stuff they told us. So if we're going to serve him in we should serve him in spirit and truth. We must know the truth, walk in the truth, and practice the truth. And we must use a true name and not a given name or false name or a made up name. How is that serving him in truth when you're using a fake name? And that's what it's about. It's about living in truth and serving the Most High in truth. And it made me think this dude was making so much excuses as if it was evil to say the Most High name. And I was like, why are you making so much excuses? I was like, you don't want to use it, you ain't got to use it. But you making like it's a bad thing when the scriptures clearly tell us to proclaim and praise his name. Not a title, not a made up name, but his name. So I wonder what type of spirit is on these people when they refuse to say his true name, but will claimly profess and promote the false name. At that point, you promoting falsehood, and that's not of the Most High. That's not of the Bible. The Bible tells us to promote truth and what's right, not what's wrong, or not what's popular, or what's been taught us. And yeah, so that's the point that he was making, that the Most High can hear us no matter what we say, and it don't matter what we call, he can hear us. And that's not the argument. The Most High, he hears everything. He hears whatever goes on. He knows what's in our heart. When we think he's not listening, he's listening. But he honors those who honor him. And what fear and honor do we have for the Most High if we won't call him by his name? Even growing up in this society, uh, when we want to honor people, we'll say sir or ma'am, and that's a sign of honor and respect, what you give by saying sir or ma'am, uh, when you call on them. You don't go to people, grown ups and people that you know, and say, hey buddy or dude. That's a sign of disrespect. So, I mean, what greater honor to give the Most High is to call on him by his name, that you know. And one thing, people, when our parents give us our name. We born with a name that our parents gave us. The Most High assigned his name to himself. You know, nobody gave the Most High his name. He called himself this. And don't you think the Most High feel like his name that he gave himself is important? And like I said, the argument is not that if we don't use it, he won't hear us. The fact that we now know his name, what's the excuse not to use it? And when I find out the Most High had a name and that all the other stuff was titles, I really I mean, me personally, I was happy to find out his name. I was happy that I can be able to talk to him on a personal base by using his personal name. And you know, I'm like, what believer would not be happy to be able to talk to the creator of all things using his personal name, actually addressing him by his set apart personal name, and only he got and nobody else got. And you know, but yeah, so that's for all those that say that's for whatever reason, you know, a lot of your pastors or whatever, you gotta ask the church, well, if his name not important and it don't matter, then why not just say his name then? Why are y'all pushing God and Most High as if days are more important than his name that he gave himself, or JC? When you say, you know, well, uh, not getting into that right now. It's not the video, but yeah. So ask yourself that: uh, are you taking his name in vain? Are you making his name seem like it's not important? Are you saying it don't matter? And that's just what the commandment tell us not to do. Is to say his name don't matter. It's to say it's not important. To bring his name to naught. Me personally, I believe that when you use this name, that uh, it ain't that he don't hear us, that he'll be more willing to hear us. Most out is sovereign. He ain't gotta do nothing. If you read the scriptures, it's always if we do this, then he say I do this. So it's on us to get it right. And I believe when we call on his name, that he'll be more inclined to hear us. And there's power, you know, as people say, when it was, you know, JC, and it was power in the name. Now that we know his name, you know, maybe that's why the church nowadays has no power. As we ever think about that, maybe the church today, why the church today is not like the church that was in Acts. Uh, why people are not laying hands on people and healing people. Why all these churches faking like they healing people? Is there truly power in that name? But like to me, the church has lost its power. And that's why they took the name away in the first place. So they can take the power away. But when you got the name, there's power in these names. That's why the enemy is fighting so hard for people to not say these names if saying these names is self-righteousness, or it don't matter. Nah, the enemy wants you to think like that, because it knows if you call on the Most High true name, that He'll hear. That there's something about, even in witchcraft, they'll know there's certain words they say and use to invoke certain spirits. You want to invoke the Most High? How else to invoke Him or get His attention? By calling His name. If you call Him by His personal name, don't you think you'll say, "Here I am"? So it's one thing not to know, but now that we do know, what's your excuse? What's your excuse? And just admit that you breaking the commandments, and you don't fear the Most High, and you don't think that highly of His commandment, but don't act like you is of the Most High, and that we're not of the Most High because we're using His personal name. It's not about being self-righteous. It's about serving the Most High in spirit and truth. And we all trying to get this thing right, And this is my uh understand. I mean, if y'all feel a different way, leave a comment. We can respectfully talk about this. Acts, in the scriptures, they debated, edified one another in the scripture all the time. So it's nothing. If, I don't mind people disagreeing with me or correcting me if I'm wrong. But what does the Most High say at the end of the day? What does the Word say? So let's keep that in mind. Till next time, Shalom.